Jihad is not in these ayahs. It is not. Jihad is a very wide word and carries a heavy meaning. But here, particularly, Qital is talking about mortal combat. The very same thing that Mr. George W. Bush ordered when he sent people out to Afghanistan and into Iraq is mortal combat. But Islam is having limits, big limits. Fight only those who are fighting you. Kill only those who are trying to kill you, but as soon as they stop, you have to stop. It is forbidden in Islam to kill the innocents. If you're going to quote to me from this book and consider that I believe it and I'm going to follow it, then please take the time to go to chapter 5, which is Surah Al-Ma'idah, and look to the verse that clearly states that if anybody takes an innocent life, it's as though they killed all of humanity. It's verse 32, by the way. And if they save a life, then it's as though they saved the entire mankind. And indeed, there came to them our messengers with clear proofs, evidences, and signs. Even then, after that, many of them continued to exceed limits in the land. And understand, Islam is about these limits. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want Muslims to be like the ignorant Arabs and just trashing people to the ground. In the Bible itself, in the book called Genesis, toward the end, there is a chapter or a whole section called the rape of Dinah. It deals with the subject of a boy from a non-Jewish tribe who took a girl from the Jewish tribes. He loved her. He wanted to marry her. The tribal leaders from the Jews went to them, according to the Bible, read it for yourself, and said, "We want this girl back." The chief of the tribe said, "It's my son that took her. We didn't mean you any harm, but, let's make up like this. We will give you gifts. We will give you money. We will give you sheep. Let us keep this girl. He loves her. She loves him. Can they be together?" They said, "No. We're coming back." So they came back with their tribes. The Jewish tribes were ready to fight. But then they realized, oh my God, look at how many there are of the other people. They were huge in number. So when they realized they were outnumbered, they made another conference between them. They sat together and they said, "Listen, we got to work this out. We want the girl back." The tribal leader said, "Listen, we're willing to do this, whatever it would take to satisfy you." They said, "We can't let her be married to him because he's not Jewish, not from us." Said, "Okay, we're ready to accept your religion. We're ready to accept your religion, whatever it takes. And then, if you'll accept us, we will give you our lands and our animals, and you'll be with us just as our own brothers. You'll take our wives, we'll take wives from you, your children and our children together. We'll accept that term of peace. Could we do that?" It says in the Bible the Jews agreed to that based on one thing: you'll have to be circumcised, khatan, same as we do today as Muslims. The men have to remove the foreflesh of the private part. And that's what it says, real clear in the Bible. You do that, and then it'll be hunky-dory. We'll go for it. That's Texas translation, by the way. Next thing, it says that they cut themselves, starting with the boy. The son of the tribal leader cut himself like this. I don't know if you got any idea what I'm talking about. That is horrible, okay? That's amazing. And every member of the tribe, they made sure every member of their whole entire tribe did this to themselves. And it says in the Bible, 3 days later, when the men couldn't even move, it said they were sore. You bet they were. They couldn't move. It said that's when the Jews came in and killed them all, slaughtered them all, men, boys, and kept the women for themselves, took all of their land, all of their property, and all of their sheep. And they were very proud of themselves. They went back to their father Jacob and told him the story, and it said he was disappointed. This book, the Quran, forbids all of that. First of all, you can't lie about the religion. You have to tell people what it is. But they're always welcome to enter Islam. But the next thing is, especially when you make a truce or an agreement, you have to follow through on it in Islam. You cannot deceive people with that. And when somebody declares, Ashhadu la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah, I bear witness there's none to worship except God alone, and Muhammad's his messenger, he's your brother. And the Prophet ﷺ said, his life and his property are safe from your hand. The opposite of the teaching of the Bible in that area. By the way, I don't believe everything I read in the Bible, but I definitely believe that it's right here when it tells me to have limits. Not to go in and kill all the boys and men. Not to go in and steal all the women and rape them. Killing babies even. Stealing their land after you made a promise with them. And this is what Allah is forbidding right here. For the Muslims, for the Arabs, and all Muslims ever since. That's what it says. That's how I understood it. If somebody has some other Quran that they know about, bring it and let's have a look at it. Far as I know, there's only one Quran on the entire earth, and it's exactly like everyone else on the entire earth. So, excuse me, but where do you get out of that? Islam is terrorism. I see it real clear. Islam is against terrorism. In fact, if there is aggression, if there is oppression, if there is dhulm and fitna, if there is terrorism on this earth, it's Islam that declared the war against terrorism 1400 years ago, and it's called Jihad Sabilillah. This is not a subject that we're going to cover all the details in one short speech. But it is definitely a message that has to get out to every Muslim first, and then every other person on this planet. You may ask yourself, why did you say Muslims? Because my brothers and sisters in Islam, it's too often that I hear Muslims apologizing for Islam. Allah will never accept that. And the Muslim brothers and sisters who have died on the haqqa, la ilaha illallah, on the truth of Islam for 1400 years would not be very proud of you today to hear you apologize for something that has nothing wrong in it. Until we stand up for what real truth is and show people the beauty, the sweetness of the deen of Islam, the power that Allah gives to the true believers. Until we do this, we're not living up to it. The people can't see it. But before I end this little talk, I want to be sure that I balance the scale. I want to talk about the position of a non-Muslim. A person who is not Muslim, looking at what's being presented in the media today, has a right to be afraid. Because a non-Muslim doesn't really have the taqwa for Allah. And when you don't have taqwa for Allah, you're going to have taqwa for everything else that Allah created. Meaning, if you don't fear Allah, you'll fear what He created. So they're very much afraid. And they're responding to that fear. And until they can understand real Islam, they'll continue to do what they're doing. They see us, 1.5 billion people in the world, as a threat, as an enemy to them. Because we have not lived up to the message. We have not presented Islam to them correctly. And therefore they fear what they don't know, what they don't understand. And that's logical. People always fear what they don't understand. Who is going to carry this message to these people? Huh? Are we going to go to Madison Avenue? Are we going to go to Hollywood, California, and ask these great promoters of media to put together a package for us and put it on their news? I don't think so. In fact, I know so. The way that we're going to present this message is the way that it was presented 1400 years ago. By living the example of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by sacrificing our lives and our work and our money, not to kill people, but to kill inside of ourselves this nafs, so that we can stand up and be real Muslims. So when they see the sweetness of the deen in us, they're going to say, I want to be like you. I want to be like you. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, ask yourself, is this a person that other people would like to become like? Because if the answer is no, then you're not representing Islam, are you? But if you can look in the mirror and say, this is somebody representing Islam, then get out there and let them see it in us. I'm not blaming them for doing what they are naturally going to do, but I'm blaming you and myself and every Muslim on this earth who has not presented this message correctly. Let us make a firm resolve from this point forward that when you leave out of this building tonight, that it's not the same person who walked in here. That your life is changed. That we are a better person. That we're going to abide by the rules, regulations, and commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and following the sunnah of His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let us make that resolve. Let us ask Allah to guide us first, and in so doing help others to see the beautiful guidance of Islam. Ameen. I ask for the guidance of Allah. Ihdina siratul mustaqim. Ameen. I ask for the guidance for all of the people that Allah give hidayah, Muslims and non-Muslims. Ameen. And I ask that He give us the good of this life and the good of the next life, and save us from the punishment of His fire. Ameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. آمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. آمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. آمين. جزاكم الله خير. I ask Allah to forgive me for any mistakes. Anything good said here tonight was from Allah. The mistakes are from myself. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.